We are the oracles of our time.
Yes.
That's meaning you, everybody else.
Yeah, and everybody, right?
Yep.
We are all oracles of this time.
Right. We all get to breathe into this new opportunity and create, a new world, a new earth.
Awesome.
And reframe all the fear, right? We're going through a death process. So for those of you who are tuning in on Facebook Live, if you want to be more engaged, click on the Zoom link and you can come in the Zoom link where it's easier to ask questions because there's no lag time. And also it'll just make for a nice experience. So if you're watching live, hallelujah, that's cool too. So you ready? Shall we begin, Michelle?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's begin. And just to orient people, again, if you're on Zoom, it's going to be a lot easier for us to address questions, comments, etc. I feel like by this point, most people have been initiated into Zoom land, but in case you haven't, then on the bottom of the bar or on the bottom of the screen, there should be a little icon that says chat, and that's where we can see what you're typing in. So thanks for joining us. And David, it's so nice to sit down with you again. I know when we were just checking in about this last week, it felt like we could have talked a lot longer. So this is a nice extension of that, bringing people into that conversation.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time. Thanks for asking me, to bring more. I know your medicine and your magic, so I'm excited. For those of you who don't know Michelle, I know Michelle now for a couple years, and through another mutual friend, Catherine Bird, who's also an amazing healer. So Michelle, I really trust and respect as a healer, as a intuitive. She works a lot with animals, and you can speak to and communicate with animals. And I love animal medicine, so it's like we're like two peas in a pie. This is great. So I always learn a lot from being around her and her ability to listen. So I invite y'all today, as we drop in, to keep having that opportunity to just slow your breath down and listen in as we share these transmissions, and invite you to share what comes in for you. So, putting a note in the comments or the chat box, like when something feels really alive to share. So that way we are in this co-creation together and we get to have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, where shall we start, Michelle? You contacted me, and maybe you can kind of start off like with what's really burning in your heart that you feel.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, what's really burning in my heart right now is to do an invocation. Does that sound good? We can, all of us drop in together and get to be in sacred space together. So yeah, let's do that. So as you're tuning in, I invite you to join us and just take a moment and close your eyes if you can, if you're in a space where that's comfortable and accessible for you. And we're going to take a few breaths to arrive fully in the body in this moment that is now, beginning with the exhale, breathing everything out. A deep breath into the belly. And exhale with a sigh. Again, deep breath into the nice soft belly. And exhale with a sigh. Two more. Deep breath into the belly. And exhale with a sigh. Good. Last one right here. And as you continue to flow with your breath, it washes in and out like waves. You gently attune to this natural rhythm of coming and going, of expansion and contraction, of life and death. It exists, all of this, within the microcosm of your own breath. This natural rhythm, which all things attune to, this natural dance, this cycle that we can see in absolutely everything around us. We have access to it here in our own bodies. And it's so simple. So invitation in our time today to always come back to the breath and know that everything that we're talking about, everything that is happening in the world, if it seems as though it's outside of you or beyond you, just tune back to the breath and know that you always have access to all the mysteries and all the knowledge. You always have access to the laws of the universe within your own body, within your own cellular wisdom, within your own consciousness. And there is nothing that we can tell you, nothing that anyone can tell you that exists outside of you. And today, as we are doing this journey together, we are inviting in our own oracular consciousness. We are inviting in our own guides, our own messages, the filters of these messages, and awakening to the sacred role that we play in the evolution of Earth, in the creation of a new Earth for the benefit of all beings. And know that you are instrumental in this process. And that within you, there's nothing else that you need to learn. There's nothing else that you need outside of yourself. It's all within you already, and you can find it through the doorway of the breath. And let us invoke together. It is with so much gratitude that we call upon and invoke the presence of our own innocent hearts. We call upon and invoke guides and teachers of myself, of David, of all of us tuning in this moment, in this live, and those who might tune in later to the recording. We call upon and invoke and invite in here all of our guides and teachers, spirit guides, animal guides, archangels and ascended masters, beings of the light and love, ancestors and all our relations, sapphire dragon line, keepers of the egg, dragon clans, librarians, and alchemists. We ask that you please be present here with us in this moment that is now for the highest and greatest good. Please help us to come into alignment with harmonious resonance, with integrity, with joy, with passion, with compassion and creativity, wisdom, trust, surrender, for the benefit of all beings. And we are so happy and grateful to do this work in this moment and in all moments. Thank you, thank you, thank you for the blessings. And gently place your hands on your body. Just offer yourself a deep nod of acknowledgement and gratitude for being present in this moment, present with us in this conversation, and also present in this time on Earth. You agreed to be here as a vehicle for evolution and transformation. You agreed to this, to participate actively as a co-creator of this Earth. And it is such an honor to walk this path with you. Give yourself a hug, wrap your arms around yourself, and just give yourself a little squeeze. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Letting yourself up from the inside out. And with a smile, gently wiggling the fingers and toes and arriving back in this moment that is now. Fully landing back in the body. When you're ready, opening the eyes. Welcome back.
Thank you. That was so powerful. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. So if there's anything you feel called to share from that, anything that came up for you, again, use the chat box so we can have a look. David, was there anything that came up for you in that you want to share?
Yeah, I was feeling so much gratitude and strength and courage, and really feeling the divine feminine, work through you, and feeling the call of Mother Earth, really coming through this and dropping me into my heart. And and I appreciated the sapphire dragons. There's a few things that really I appreciated you dropping in, because I've also been feeling this call of the dragon medicine and the dragon magic. And those of you who carry the Yeming-Zhu, and there's a lot of story and mythology that we can go down that rabbit hole. And so, with that being said, I just honor like all the medicine you carry and lineages you carry inside of you. I feel very held and very supported, and just excited to be with you.
Thank you. The feeling is mutual. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
How about we start with dragons? That feels like a good jump.
Live. Let's do it.
Awesome. Okay, let's start with dragons. Speaking of the Yeming-Zhu, this thing here. If you don't know what that is, dragons have been showing up big time. And I know we've talked about this, I did a couple series of dragon sessions where I put out to my list, maybe if you're on my list, maybe you saw this last year after I got back from Avalon. And then I think I did 2 rounds at the end of last year. And they've been showing up in my life for years. They've really came through very, very strongly a few years ago. And then it's like there's been another wave of it where now I'm seeing them show up for all my people and all the people that I'm in contact with. I think this is one of the frequencies that we're being initiated into in this evolutionary process. It's really exciting to work with.
I want to add just one quick note. For those of you who don't know what Yemingju is, it's a Chinese stone, a magical stone that literally translates as moonbright pearl or nightbright pearl, and also is called the dragon stone. So you see in lots of Taoist and Buddhist artwork, you see this glowing orb that the Buddha's holding, or that you often see a dragon and like a phoenix swirling around this. And for many people in ancient China, it's just a myth that it exists. But it really does exist, and it holds these higher frequencies of the ascended masters and various star beings that have come to our planet to help us evolve. So with that being said, just like crystals are carriers of knowledge, light, information. So those of you who work with crystals, work with them more and start to ask them questions and tune into the frequency and the lineage that they carry, and it will teach you. Go into meditation, hold a stone, and ask, and open the way for that kind of guidance. So just to give some context, like, what's Yemingju? And this is the first one that I've ever seen is a black one. I was actually, my Qigong teacher, Master Peter, I met about 12 years ago. I'm not going to go into the big, long story, but, it's been 12 years now. I've been studying the dragons, the dragon stone, and the various energetic, spiritual, psychic capacities that are activating for us humans. With that being said, would love to pass the mic to you, Michelle, and how, my question for you is, like looking at the context of the world, right? We've got coronavirus, we've got this new earth happening, we've got messages from, like, I've been seeing ravens like crazy, which is like the bringer of death and rebirth, and real magic. So, my question for you is, how does what are the messages from the dragons you've been seeing, and how does it kind of apply to these times and what we can prepare for?
Yeah. Awesome. I realize I want to back this up a tiny bit because we sort of skipped like what are we actually talking about in the larger context? And I just got so excited about the dragons. We just jumped. So let's dial this back just a moment here to talk about, this theme that David and I, that came through when we were checking in last week, where we are the oracles of our time. What does that even mean? And as we're tuning into these messages, like the ravens and the crows, I've also had a lot of crow and raven energy and Valkyrie energy. We're going to touch upon all of that. But what does it even mean to attune to oracular consciousness? And let's look for a moment at the function of the oracle, mythologically and historically, right? Oracles were, we have, again, mythological and historical examples, cultural examples of oracles in pan-culturally, right? This is, we know of like the Greek oracle, like the oracle at Delphi, I think is a very well-known oracle example. And yet there were oracles as function, as these messengers of the gods in many, many societies all over the earth. This is not unique to Greek mythology and Greek culture. This is, again, a ubiquitous phenomenon that we're looking at. And their responsibility, their role was to translate the messages of the gods, to be the voice of the gods, to be the voice of the divine, to bring through these messages and this information and then share it with the priests and priestesses, to share it with those who then enacted the messages of the divine and translated the messages of the divine for the people or for the royals. And one of the things that, there's a whole bunch of pieces there. I feel like we could spend days just looking at that, like this evolution of oracular consciousness in this modern context. And we're going to kind of gloss over some of that a little bit. Know that there's a lot of depth that we could go into there in terms of healing and transmuting these different roles, because historically the oracle was also it was essentially a slave. It was essentially enslaved to serve this role, not by choice within their community. They all, depending on where you're looking at, they were sometimes forced into sexual rites, or forced to participate in substances, whether there were chemical substances or medicine substances used to induce an oracular state. And often they were, at least in Greek culture, they were young women, they were maidens, they were virgins who were taken away from their families. So, but the function, we're looking at, well, what is the role that they're serving, and why are we looking at this right now? Is we are the oracles of our time. And as we mentioned in the beginning when we jumped on this, again, we're not just talking about me and David and our friends. We're talking about you. We're talking about all of us. We are the oracles of our time. And we're getting to choose that. We're getting to voluntarily, of our own sovereignty and of our own agency, agree to be the messengers of divine consciousness, to be in collaborative, co-creative participation with the essence of creation that wants to flow through us, and to speak that truth and power and love to our communities, to our families, to people who are going through their awakening right now and need guidance, to people who maybe they've gone through their awakening and they still need guidance. All of us need guidance. So how are we transmuting this role from this enslaved, kind of enshrouded in weirdness, enshrouded in a lot of lack of integrity and really not healthy practices, not harmonious practices, and instead bringing this oracular consciousness to something that we're getting to participate in out of service and out of love and out of devotion for the benefit of all beings, not just for the priests and the royals, not just for the select few who had access to those messages. Instead being, and this is a perfect segue actually to share why I originally reached out, David, is because I got a message exactly a week ago on Monday last week. I got smacked in the head with, put this in front of as many people as possible, whatever that means. And so I put out an invitation to my email list, and I reached out to a couple of people, yourself included, and thank you for helping me answer that call. This was part of an invitation to my own oracular consciousness to be that voice, to awaken the voices in others, to invite other people to claim that role in their lives and their process.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I'm feeling like so part of our topic here too is obviously like the coronavirus and what that is activating on the planet, what that's activating inside of every one of us. It's what's the word I'm looking for? It's the great equalizer. Like everything is being destroyed in our typical reality. This is now going on 3 weeks of being inside of our houses, very little human contact. It's like we're all going inside the caves, and all of the ancient masters of every age and tradition would go inside for a few weeks minimum and just be inside and come up and see parts of themselves that they didn't see before, and be with the light and the shadow. So I know for me personally, I've been going through ups and downs these last few weeks, feeling very activated and on fire, and then feeling like full of grief and confusion and tired, and I'm like, oh yeah, how can I come back to my practice? Because all of these things that I'm feeling, we are all collectively feeling. There's a lot of fear codes being removed from our DNA, and that's what I've been getting some of the messages from the dragons around, like there's a new divine dispensation happening, and it's like the old dragons that abuse power and are not here to bring harmony, they got to go. Those beings got to leave. You can't be hanging out on this earth plane anymore. You get to go to another realm, another planet, and work out those issues. You don't get to work those issues out here on this planet anymore. So we're going through those birthing pains though, of like the old is dying. People are physically dying. The earth is dying and rebirthing and rejoicing now, right? The way I think about it now is like we're in this 9 month, it takes 9 months for a baby before it sees the light of day. So like we're in those birthing pains, and just we got to be real patient and be in this unknown, this kind of dark area. And what's most important is our spiritual practices, our breath work, our movement, our sound vibration, and tuning into Mother Nature and in the many ways. So with that being said, what have you been noticing, Michelle, and share with us some more what's on your heart?
Yeah, well, I want to speak to, David, what you're describing. It's really that, like, that internal vision quest opportunity, right? Like, as the sages and the masters, the ascended masters, or I guess descended masters, right? Like, still on Earth,
Yeah.
right? As we have these models of people who are attuned to this wisdom, people who are in the know, taking time, as you mentioned, taking a few weeks or longer, 40 days, right, is a very traditional number, very typical number to go within. And that's the root of the word quarantine, right? Quarant, 40, right? Yeah. So what, opportunity, and I know there's, again, like 40 days of Ganesha mantra or 40 days of puja or whatever. Like, there's all these, and Moses in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights, right? Like, we have all of these models of 40 being this time of initiation. And so I'm curious, I want to drop a little invitation for those of you tuning in of what quest is being asked of you, or what quest are you being invited on to take some time. Let's be real, we're going to have some time with this, right? Like, David, like you mentioned, the 9-month gestation period and the birth pains, being in the birthing, we're going to have a good chunk of time to sit with these messages and to sit with this information. So I'm wondering, is there a practice, now that we know we're kind of in this for the long haul, is there a practice or a devotion that you're being called to? Option to do it, commit to 40 days and 40 nights if you want, or I know people do 40-hour fasts. I did a 40-hour fast before all of this started going down in like January. But is there anything around taking the time to drop into this space, right? Like, we're talking about the oracle being this messenger, analogous to being in retreat, like personal retreat or a vision quest. So I want to drop that in there as invitation to all of you who are tuning in, and know that this is a thing. This is very appropriate at this time. It's not weird. I know there's a lot of energy around connect with your people and stay in touch. Maybe yes, and I'm going to say yes, and, right? Yes, maintain your connections and stay in touch with people. And also, what is it like, the volume on our collective activation got turned way up. So what is it like if you're turning down the volume a little bit on some of your normal activities or your normal connection, or talking on the phone with your friends or whatever, and allow yourself to sit in that space of quarantine, your quarant, your 40 days, 40 nights, your personal vision quest experience, and see what messages become available to you when you're tuning in.
Wow, that's so powerful. Thank you.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah, everybody take a deep breath, let it land. And circle back with us. Circle back in 40 days and comment on the video. Let us know how it went for you.
And I was going to say, right now, those of you, if there is some insight for what you want to commit to, put it in the chat box, and maybe it's not right in this moment. Maybe in 20 minutes, like, oh, this is what's alive.
Yeah.
I'm quitting coffee for 40 days and I'm meditating every morning, right?
Great.
Whatever it is, like whatever your commitment level is, like what are you going to do for 40 days that you feel really aligned, and that's going to nourish you and give you that. I love that. I'd never heard that the root word of quarantine being that quarant, that A. So thank you for dropping that download in here.
Yeah, you're welcome. I think I saw this in a post somewhere, and I feel like it came originally from ships being held out of port, maybe during the Black Plague for 40 days, just to make sure they didn't have any.
When was that? Do you know the time frame when the Black Plague was? If not,
You know, I don't remember off the top of my head. It's so funny. I've been like looking at all these things, and there's like that nice little intersection of tuning into divine consciousness and then the very mundane, like looking up dates of stuff. And I'm just not really making that connection. So if anyone wants to type that in the chat box, then let us know, please.
Check that out.
Yeah.
The reason why I ask is another dear friend of mine that I trust. She was saying, she's an astrologer. She was saying that the astrology of this exact timeline of the coronavirus was very similar as the Black Plague, I believe, the beginning of the last, great plague. So so when we tune into that, like the stars are aligned for all of us to go through this collective healing, death, and rebirth, and letting go of the victim of like we're all struggling now, and we get to see like what's fucking real. Yes. What's real? What do we really need? You know what I'm saying? And what's the real quality of the life that we want to create now? And so, that's where we come in and our support here. So, I would suggest just creating a rhythm where you're like, okay, here's the classes I'm going to take online that nourish me. Here's the people that I know really I would need to talk to, or I choose to talk to because they uplift me, and there's, and then who can I cut back from? What sources of media can I cut back from? Maybe not watch the nightly news every night and get freaked out about the coronavirus every day. You know what I'm saying? And so like pick and choose wisely, because it's important to know, right? It's important to be in the know to a degree. But so that's the invitation. And then, I would suggest even this weekend taking 2 or 3 days of like just off social media, just going in, light some candles, and do some practices for, a few hours a day, and really give yourself that opportunity, because most of us ain't got to work right now. So let's use that time wisely.
Right? Rather than defaulting to Netflix and check out, right? And that's important too sometimes. Yeah. Somebody just chatted in, Black Plague was in the mid 1300s. Awesome. Thank you, Jim, for looking that up for us.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, so 700 years-ish. And right? And as we know about like 7-year cycles, right? Like transformation, kind of on the micro, getting to measure, within our lifetime, we become a different person every 7 years. Well, here we're 700 years. We've had hundreds, 100 cycles of total transformation. Yeah. Okay.
Our earth body, the body of the earth, and we're the cells on the earth going through this with her.
Yeah. Amazing. That's, I think that's a really important piece right there. And speaking of initiations in some of the messages that have been coming through, as you mentioned, with the crystal kingdom, right, as, the mineral nation and the dragons, the earth dragons in particular, really attuning to cellular consciousness is one of the big invitations that's offered to us right now. So speaking of these signs and symbols and what's showing up, looking at and fully allowing ourselves to come into conscious relationship with our cellular codes and embodied wisdom. Because as you mentioned, we are made of earth, right? Like there's no one that can argue with that. Everything that exists in our bodies exists in earth and on earth. And there's this direct role, this direct creation possibility, this creative potential that comes from being able to work with our own bodies and work with these codes and have impact on the codes and the physical manifestation of earth, and vice versa, right? And so if we seek to know the wisdom of earth, if we seek to know this path of global transformation and actualization, start here, start in the body, start in your own encoded wisdom, start talking with your crystals, start, putting your hands on the earth and touching trees and talking to trees and petting your animals and being in your body and dancing. Yes. And as you're doing that, cultivating again, taking it beyond the intuitive realm, taking it beyond the, I'm in my body in a trance state, right? That's one level. But what is it like to be in your body in an empowered, fully conscious cognitive state and be able to come into active co-creative relationship with that cellular wisdom? Boom. That's one of our
Man,
one of our oracle messages.
oh, thank you. That's what's up.
Mhm.
You know, as you were speaking, I began to see the light codes dancing in my cells, and I was like, oh, let's do some breath work. You know, I was like,
Yeah, you want to lead us through a little bit?
oh, I would love to. Yeah, I
Yeah.
would love
Great.
to. So, you know, my favorite is to do 3 rounds, and there's that magic in like the physical, the energetic, and the spiritual.
Mhm.
And whenever I'm doing, you know, listening to signs or talking with a great friend, I'm like, okay, let's stop talking and let's breathe.
Mm.
And let's let everything settle in. So let's do that together here. You know, feel our feet on the ground, and we're going to use that simple tumo practice, that inner fire, to drop into that still point in our hearts and our bellies, and begin to discover some of the inner wisdom that is inside of you today, within yourselves. And so, feeling that you are a pillar of light, you start to breathe into the belly, and calling in the support from your ancestors, from your blood lineage, from your soul lineage, the lives of mastery that you've lived. Feel that mastery coming online in your DNA right now, in your cells. And inviting Mother Earth to speak through your movements, to speak through your voice, your tones, your songs, your art, your words, your writings. Because this path is about surrender as well, right? And letting go. And so, well, let's do 11 breaths, activating that pillar of light that you are. And what I want you to focus on is when we do our exhale, seeing every little cell inside of you filled with this brilliance, filled with the sacred memory of why you're here. Your soul chose this time, and feel that remembrance and feel that inner power as we awaken our intuitive gifts inside our bodies, our spiritual awareness in ourselves. So on 3, with a smile, we'll do 11 breaths. 1, 2, 3. Exhale all your air. Breathing in, rock back. And out. In and out. 3 is bigger. And out. 4 is deeper. And out. Breathing in the wisdom of the earth. And out. The water in our cells. The fire in our hearts. The air in our lungs. The spaciousness in our minds. 2 more. Slow it down. And last one, calling in grace. Breathe it in. Hold it at the top. Hold it. Love it. Drop it down into round belly. Purse your lips. And as you 2 more exhale, feel that inner fire in your belly, overflowing to every cell, seeing every blood cell filled with light, sparkling bright. Feeling your original nature, the codes within, activated now. The wisdom from your ancestors, from the one ancestor. Feeling a quality of healing and power, forgiveness and grace. And as you slow your breath down, ask your intuition, what is my grounding symbol for this time right now? For today, for this week? What is this grounding symbol that will help me ground this spiritual awareness into my body, into my mind, into my heart? And then see this symbol, this image, become clarified like HD in your mind's eye. See it become brighter. Then expand it. You could expand this symbol and imagine this symbol now grows and expands to fill your entire auric field, your Weiqi field, grounding, letting you feel safe, trusting, supported. Feel your feet connected to the earth, growing tree roots from the balls of your feet. Feeling these grounding anchors from your feet, your tailbone, your elbows. And seeing this now is like a mind tattoo, this grounding symbol. And take about 3 slow breaths, honoring your intuition, honoring this sacred symbol. Feel that this is the beginning. This is our training. Training our energetic muscles, our spiritual muscles. And so notice what you feel right now in this moment, the quality, the texture of energy in your body. Right, for me, I feel uplifted, I feel energized. And what's interesting for me is the grounding symbol for me today was like a flaming pyramid, which is interesting because I've rarely seen that. Usually it's like a tree or a mountain or something. So, you know, if something came in, write it in your journal. And please feel free to share it with us here in the chat or on the Facebook Live. And if you don't want to share, that's fine too. You know, but if there's a powerful symbol that you want to share with us, that would be lovely. And then bring one hand on your heart, one on your belly. Massage in. And realize that these are codes of activation transmission. So this is going to unfold the next few days. So wake up in the morning, do a breathwork practice like this, do some movement, and return, like water that seed that we just planted here today. Okay. Yeah. How you feeling, Michelle? Oh, you're unmuted.
I muted myself so you wouldn't hear double breathing. Oh, I feel so, so good. Thank you. This is beautiful. Yeah. I had this this line symbol that I hadn't seen before that I'm going to draw later and meditate with. It was got like a box with a line and
beautiful.
Yeah, something to play with. Someone's chatting in. Water came in as my symbol. Love hearing the children in the background. Yeah, your little one.
Yeah. She's a fully enlightened being, wrecking havoc. She's 2.5. She just rules the world.
Oh my gosh. Don't they though, right? Like our little ascended or descended masters, or descended masters in the form of children and animals and those keepers of innocence as this very pure frequency. Yeah, beautiful. That one of the things that felt really activated in me as you were kind of closing us and leading us through that, you know, notice what's been activated. It's that warrior energy that really activated. I've felt throughout this whole circumstance, especially all of last week, I felt so activated every single day. Just really powerful and really embodied and full of energy. And it's this, it's like there's stuff happening and I have access to more life force than ever before. And I know, you know, people are in all sorts of states of processing. I had a little moment about a week and a half that felt really activated. And that's okay. It's got the double live thing going. I had about half an hour about a week and a half ago where I was like, should I feel bad for feeling as good as I do? I don't know. Other people are definitely not feeling as good as me, but I came to terms with just owning it and feeling really empowered and awesome, which is, I think, another kind of the segue into another of these oracular experiences and these invitations and messages that were being made available to us is the Valkyrie. And I know, yeah, David, I know that that's something that you and I talked about in our check-in last week, as this is showing up big time for both of us. I had it come up about 4 times within 2 days. A couple of weeks ago, it was just like shouting at me in the face. And I've been since kind of pulling it apart and getting to play with it a little bit, but that's a big one. How about you?
Can you share with us, for those who don't know what the Valkyrie are?
Yeah.
What are the Valkyrie?
Yeah, and I would love for you to kind of come alongside this too, because I know you're more familiar, but my understanding, again, as a newer initiate into this this mystery, they are the raven goddesses, the shield maidens. They go by a bunch of different names: shield maiden, like warrior maiden, the raven, associated with ravens, and they're the ones who they're the chooser of the slain. So in Norse mythology, they go into the battlefield where all the warriors have been killed in battle, and they choose the brave warriors. They're choosing of the slain to lead them either to Valhalla with Odin, yes, or to whatever Freya's place is called, and ultimately to support the great battle, the last battle of Ragnarok.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. There was a question here. Yes, this is from Norse mythology. Mm-hmm. Norse mythology. And just to add one bit, in the mythologies, they were like, warrior goddesses, and they would wear often like white and gold, and they would ride on these like white horses, and the Valkyrie are one of the few beings that can travel different dimensions. Mm-hmm. Like Thor, the original name, which actually means thorn or gateway. He can also has this capacity. And so like there's a lot of downloads that have been coming through the Avengers movies, that when I go back to the real mythologies, I'm like, oh shit, this is right on. Fuck. Fuck, holy cow. Like, and like what's been happening for me in the past year, I've been studying very diligently the Norse medicine and from my Swedish heritage, and that's in my blood, the runes and the rune magic, and it's a 24 coded alphabet, and there's 3,000 rune stones in Sweden, and that hit me hard. I was like, wait, there's 3,000? It's like the most in any land, and these rune stones, which are large slabs, were there to honor kingdoms and queendoms, and often honor fallen, Vikings. And there's even a documentary on the Viking, like warrior queens or like warrior women, I saw it on Disney Plus. I was like, damn, I gotta watch that shit. So with that being said, this Valkyrie is that energetic embodiment of those who are, kind of like guardian angels. You can very much think of them like guardian angels, and they protect those who are in right relationship. So those in war, they take those who have died honorably in death, they take them to Valhalla or Nirvana or whatever word you want to use, for that next level. And those who lived a dishonorable life, they go to hell. They go to, a different realm where they get to play out those karmic seeds that they planted. You know what I'm saying? So like heaven and hell, in the Buddhist context, they say is an inch apart. And it's just where your level of consciousness is at any given moment. So then that's why they put so much attention on the moment of death, like your state of consciousness at the moment of death, which is why the practice of visualizing your own death or the death of your loved ones helps you to really calm down and see like what's most important. If I was to lose everything right now, yeah. And that's like a great meditation that, each of us can be doing now. And I'm happy to support y'all in that, because it can be a little unnerving at first, but you come out of the other side and it's just a really beautiful thing. So the Valkyrie are that kind of energetic, that are supporting us, and guiding us like aspects of our higher self. These beings are aspects of ourselves in different forms in some ways, because we're reflecting the universe through us and as us. And so when I see a big tree and I start praying and singing, and then I might get a text message from like you or Catherine. I'm like, oh, and then I see two ravens. I'm like, oh shit, God, there it is. That's the thing. That's how it works.
So many signs, right? So many confirmations.
Yeah. So like pay attention to those signs and synchronicities in your daily life. Pay attention to the animals, even as you walk into the neighborhood. I live in Oakland, but there's a lot of nature. There's a lot of nature, blue jays and crows, and so wherever you may be, the animal medicine is going to speak to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I want to sit with the Valkyrie here for a minute as we're looking at these. I guess I'll kind of start with how it showed up for me at first, where I have this goddess deck, the Susan Sadan-Boulay goddess deck, if you're familiar or if anyone's familiar with that. And I kept drawing the Valkyrie card. I've been drawing it a lot. And I drew it for, I did a tarot forecasting for myself and for a handful of clients at the beginning of the year. And Valkyrie was the goddess who I drew as like my patron goddess of the springtime. So starting kind of February 1st at Imbolc, and then going through May 1st or beginning of May with Beltane. And I remember thinking like, that doesn't really feel like a very springtimey goddess, you know, back at the beginning of the year when I was drawing this. You know, she's very associated with death and with, you know, this, like the endings, right? I was like, okay, well, whatever, I guess it'll be clear. And then when I was revisiting at the beginning of March for my cards for the month of March and for the spring, and I saw the Valkyrie card, I was like, oh shit, okay, that's why.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, again, like this very sort of slap in the face, obvious, like, are you listening now? I was like, yes, I am. And then my shaman mentor came over the next day and told me I looked like the Valkyrie, and she had drawn the Valkyrie card. And I had, oh, I'm not kidding. Yeah. She's like, you've been, something's different. You look like the Valkyrie. I'm like, why are you saying that? And she said, well, I drew the Valkyrie card this morning.
Wow.
And then somebody else brought up something about the Valkyrie. So it was a lot of that type of energy within a very short period of time. And I see this as, you know, not only with us working with these frequencies as guides and as teachers, like we might call upon angels or archangels or guides, but also cultivating within ourselves where we are those who are discerning, as David, as you were describing, like those who, you know, who are walking among this field of destruction, right? As we have the battlefield of Earth right now,
Yeah.
of things that are dying and entities and structures that are dying and being destroyed. And how are we walking and riding our white horses through the field of Earth in order to invite and to create and to uplift and to be these beacons of hope and of liberation and of integrity is another word I want to say, right? So this Valkyrie consciousness, inviting you to kind of sit with that. Again, I do not claim to be an expert about the Valkyrie. This is a relatively new, a new guide for me within the last year, but very strongly within the last couple of months. So I'm not pretending to know a whole lot here, but invitation to sit with that. I know it's not only me that's coming up for. I know it's a lot of people.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that in. And you know, for those of you who are watching, your soul is meant to be here. You're called to this kind of work, you know. And for those of you that know, like this is the last week that I'm keeping the doors open for the Jedi Academy, for the Medical Qigong School, where we go deeply into this process of how to use our body as a vessel to receive messages and to heal our organs and heal our emotions and become a more clear vessel of what wants to be birthed through us. So if you're into that, it's just going to be amazing. So reach out to me. This is the last week that I'm taking on new students. And what I wanted to say was for Michelle, you know, like I feel like this is just the beginning. We should do this like once a week or something.
Sign me up. Great.
We should get on this because like this is really activating for me, and like I rarely get to talk about these things with other humans.
Yeah.
So I love talking about it with you and talking about it with friends here on, you know, Facebook and Zoom, and being able to just be unabashed and have no shame about being able to channel and be an oracle and talk about all the mystical and the magical that I've always been into, but I've shied away from because you know, it's like I'm the warrior healer guy.
Right.
But, you know, I know that I wouldn't have the access to this ability had I not been doing those warrior practices, getting into my body and healing my emotions. And now I'm like, oh, now I can read the signs. And for those of you who are on a spiritual path, you know, you read a book, you know, 5 years ago. Now it's a whole new book. It's completely, because we're at a new level of awareness, and it's like, oh my God, there's so many new downloads and insights. So I want to say thank you, Michelle, for being here. And is there, you know, before we close, I know we've got some time. We'll end here about you know, the next 5 minutes, something like that.
Yeah.
How can people connect to you, Michelle? What do you have brewing? I know you're an amazing teacher. How can people find you and connect with you?
Yeah. First, I want to do just a little plug for the Jedi Academy, because David is, you know, we barely scratched the surface today with what David has to offer in terms of his tools and practices and his mastery as a teacher. And I went to his medical Qigong retreat last year, like a year and a half ago, and that was phenomenal, blew me away. So much fun. First of all, so much fun and so many downloads and openings and practices. So if that's something you're interested in, I can't recommend him enough. Second of all, go ahead and if you're chatting in, I see other people chatting in. I want to just read this out loud real quick so that people can benefit. People are seeing runes, people are seeing healer runes. This session is so cool. Awesome. Thanks, Andrea. Just came back from Castle in Scotland and it was full of ravens in the trees. Yes. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Go ahead and chat in the chat box either on Zoom or on Facebook if you want us to do another one. Do you want me and David to sit down again and I feel like we were barely scratching the surface here. I feel like we could talk for hours about this. So let us know if that's something you're interested in. You want us to do another one here, I don't know, next week or in a couple weeks or whenever that aligns. Someone says, sure. Okay, sure. That sounds like a whatever. Come on, give me a fuck yeah, people. I want some enthusiasm. Are you excited? As excited as me? Come on.
I'm thrilled.
Awesome. Truths are unfolding that we need to hear. Yes. And that we need to share the truths that are unfolding for you that you need to start communicating with people. How can you start putting your oracular consciousness in front of the people that need to hear it? That's my invitation for you. And ways that you can connect with me, I want to give you a couple tools and recommendations. Number one, I wrote an energetic survival guide that you can download for free from my website if that's something that would be helpful to you. My website is joyofenergy.com. And so there will be a couple spots on that page where you can just put in your email address and download the guide for free. It's got some tools and practices to help you stay clear, grounded, centered, cultivating your energy and protecting yourself during this time of global upheaval. So again, joyofenergy.com. Go ahead and download the free energetic survival guide. I also have, I have the Dragon Heart Council that I have been brewing on for months and months now that finally demanded itself beyond a shadow of a doubt that I actually put it into the world. So that's going to be happening here within the next month or so. If you're interested in the Dragon Heart Council, then go ahead and send me an email and I'll put you on the list of the first invite people. And Dragon Heart Council, there's going to be some live transmissions. There's going to be teachings and practices. There's going to be opportunities for one-on-one mentorship and training and working with the dragons. I do a lot of work with dragons, mostly behind the scenes in my own practice and then with my clients, but they're kind of jamming, knocking on the door saying like, hey, it's time to make it more available to other people. So if that's something you're interested in, and then of course, you're interested, I'll put you on the list. You'll be first on the list. Yeah. Thanks, David. And of course, one-on-one mentorship, if that's something that you are feeling called to in terms of embodiment, in terms of translating your gifts and your messages and all of your practices into your sacred service and devotion in the world for the benefit of all beings. Contact me through my website, joyofenergy.com. So free guide, dragon stuff, one-on-one mentorship, joyofenergy.com.
Yes. So in the, I was thinking of ways we can plug that, like in the Facebook comments, we can put your website and, for those who are interested in Jedi Academy. So we'll put those in the comments. And then those of you who are on the Zoom, it's great because so if we do this again, get on the Zoom because then we can be more interactive, which is always nice.
Yes.
And so it's 5:26 now. Andrea asked, do you barter for toilet paper? LOL.
No, I'm good on that, but thank you. It's, our new currency. Yeah.
So I feel like, do you want to close it out, Michelle, or I kind of like always closing with a little breath or a little sound?
Yeah. Let's close with a little sending it forward. Okay. So invitation, everybody, to go ahead and once again, close your eyes and let's put the hands on the body, one hand on the heart, one hand on the belly. And we're going to take a few breaths here to arrive once again in that body portal that we opened earlier, beginning with the exhale, breathing everything out. Good. Deep breath into the belly. And exhale with a sigh. Again, deep breath into the belly. And exhale with a sigh, feeling all the energies and codes that were activated within you settling into your cellular consciousness. Again, deep breath in. And exhale with a sigh for integration. Allowing all this information to land. One more breath in. An audible sigh. Continuing to flow with your breath. With every exhale, softening into this space of receiving. This time together, you were invited into an activation cycle. You were invited to be in awakening and receiving codes, receiving information, perhaps receiving new ideas and visions and thoughts and invitations. And now your invitation is to integrate, to allow yourself to be soft, to allow yourself to be still, to rest and digest. Think about you just ate a big meal. And so now you just want to sit and let it land. You were just fed a lot of powerful energies, so best to just let it sit and land so that you can process it fully, embody it, and then carry it out into the world as a beacon of light and love and integrity and compassion and joy for all beings. Feeling your cells updating with these codes and this wisdom and information, knowing that this process is going to continue to land and integrate. Let us intend that all these healing energies continue to flow as long as they are needed, pouring in from the divine to ground in the physical plane. With peace of heart and peace of mind, we seal in this healing work today, intending for it to integrate gently as we come into perfect union of self and spirit on this path. Thank you, thank you, thank you for the blessings. And to all the guides and teachers who've been present here in this moment that is now, we are so, so grateful. We see you, we feel you, we love you, we honor you, and we're so happy and grateful for your presence. The channel is now closed. Go if you must, stay if you will. Thank you and many blessings.
Thank you, Michelle. So beautiful and powerful. Thanks everyone for joining in here today. Please leave comments with what's coming online for you. How was that experience? And any questions you may have. Please, we're here to be of support during these times. So, Michelle, we will definitely do this again.
Yes.
Possibly next week, but maybe in 2 weeks. We'll just see. We'll just feel into it.
Yeah, we'll tune back in because there will be new frequencies that want to be shared in that time. So,
right.
So yeah, for all of you who are tuning in now, just keep a lookout for future reference, and we'll see you on the flip side.
Yeah. All right. Much love, y'all.
Bye.
Bye, Michelle.